Okay. Okay, so Joy's going to read us her personal essay that she wrote. And which question did you actually answer?
Oh, wait. Okay, just give me a second.
Okay.
Number 9, I believe.
And what was that one?
Well, I need to find it. That's why.
Okay.
Basically, it wasn't really a question. It just asked, didn't really ask either. It said to evaluate a time of your life and how it kind of influenced you in a better or worse way, kind of thing. So
okay, yeah, I know which question you're talking about now. Yeah. Okay.
So the process is the plan. That's my title.
Ah.
Rough 7 months. My passion since I was 12 years of age was to one day dive under the ocean. And the COVID pandemic of 2020 flew the door wide open for an opportunity to become certified as an open water diver. My aspirations were right in front of me. However, my health began to decline significantly a few months beforehand. Becoming sick and tired, my body was too exhausted to accomplish anything. But this longing desire to dive instilled in me hope that I would one day see the bottom of the dark, murky lakes or the bright, fiery coral reefs of the sea. The day I became, The day I became certified, the turmoil I suffered through flooded back into my mind. Astonishingly, joy and gratitude filled my heart, and even now, as I recall all that I had faced in just 6 months. Now, carpe diem is my thing. That was my introduction. Here's my second paragraph.
Okay.
Never doubt the strength inside. The first thing I had to embrace in 2020 was the fact that a water leak in my house caused us to move to a different house for a short period of time. Transitioning from our warm, cozy home into someone else's house was not all too pleasant, but I am continuously grateful for the friends that offered their basements. Shutdowns from COVID-19 in Georgia were complicated, as my family and I could not make any exciting or adventurous plans. However, my parents shared with me that it might be a perfect time to train in open water scuba diving with my dad. Although I did not realize that the Lord would test my faith that summer as I faced some incredibly trying times. Every day I was tested at making the most of my minutes. Around late April, I began to have horrific eye pain. The shooting pain started from the back of the left side of my head and wrapped around to the center of my left eye. At first, I thought I had something terribly wrong with my eyes, and I ended up visiting I can't say this word right,
ophthalmologist.
Thank you.
Okay.
In spite of this, the doctor reassured that nothing was wrong with my eyes. Soon my head began to throb as I walked upstairs or even hopped off the bed quickly. Right away, I knew something was very wrong. Quickly, my body began to ache and grow weak. Failing to live life fully, I laid around and accomplished nothing. Frustratingly, I could not read because my eyes could not concentrate due to the throbbing and nausea of chronic migraines. As I grew weaker, I had given up, and my heart became very troubled with the burden of why the Lord chose me to deal with these health issues. The pain persisted for a month, and then I received an MRI scan and ended up in the ER while my family was in the middle of transitioning houses again. After all of this, the only thing that really kept me going was diving with my dad. The Lord provided me with enough strength to study for tests and see the bottom of a lake with my dad by my side. Diving gave me a reason to persevere. Frustratingly, no doctor could figure out why I was so sick, but the Lord knew. While I dove, my mind was distracted by concentrating on my training and not on my health condition. This helped me so much. Amazingly, my headaches decreased while I was submerged 60 feet down underwater, yet they increased once I emerged to the shore. For 45 minutes each day, the pain would wane. Medications did not help break down the cycle of pain, so something else had to be the answer. I started participating in pain management therapy. The regimen my doctor prescribed enabled me to relax my brain for only a few minutes at a time. But this was not the only answer: prayer. I began to pray continuously, fully relying on prayer to lead me to my healing. Within a week, the headaches that I had suffered through for 2.5 months subsided, and I was different because of that suffering. If all struggles and sufferings were eliminated, the spirit would no more reach maturity than would the child, quoted one of my favorite authors, Elizabeth Elliot. The summer of 2020 instructed me in 3 ways: to never doubt the strength inside, to embrace the day-by-day lessons and opportunities that life provides, and to rely on the Lord for everything. My eyes were opened to see the Lord as a wonderful healer and an everlasting provider. I realized that each day of my life is a gift for Him. Through the trials that I suffered that summer, I overcame and in the long run grew in my relationship with the Lord, sought wisdom from my parents, and developed a wonderful friendship with my brothers. In the most difficult way, I was taught to never give up on my goals and that the Lord never forsakes His child. He answered my prayers to be certified in open water diving. My weak body was restored to health, and the spiritual maturity of my faith grew greatly. Every moment of our lives is valuable. The triumphs and the trials all work together to make us who we are. Be willing to suffer to flourish. The process is the plan. Carpe diem.
Oh, wow. What a great, strong ending.
Thank you.
Love that. What was the first sentence of the whole essay?
Let me see. It was a rough 7 months. So I kind of opened it with a short sentence. I kind of wanted to do 3 short sentences, but it just didn't sound right with all that I actually tried to do. I could try it one time.
No.
I
like it. I like it just like it is.
Thank you.
The only thing, is there a more convenient spot than your last COVID email where I can find the class link? Because I haven't been able to find it on ThinkWave.
You haven't?
I don't think so.
Okay, let's look at this together because I've had trouble finding messages myself, and I finally emailed these people, and let me show you how to do that. Okay, this to me seems like a glitch with ThinkWave. They've made so many improvements. A lot of them happened after COVID because I guess a lot more people were doing online classes. Let me just show you this. It's pretty simple, but I would not have stumbled on this myself. I had to actually ask them. So you're on messages, right? Dashboard, click on messages. And you have to make sure that, first of all, you have to make sure it's on the right semester, but then you need to make sure that you click on, let me see. Oh, no. Click on all terms. This is a drop-down box here. It's got to be on all terms. And then we do level 2. Well, y'all would only have level 2 Wednesday, okay? And then all of yours will come up. So go to the dashboard, click on messages, and make sure it says
there's
all
the class
terms.
link.
Huh?
Okay. I said, and there's the class link.
So did that fix that for you? I am recording this, so maybe Jack can just watch the recording. I really wanted him to be here because he's a debate person, and today our assignment has to do more with debate than it actually does writing. Is anybody else in here besides Jack do debate? You do, Luke? Okay. All right. So today we're going to be doing the assignment I hate the most, which is Practicing for the ACT. Who in here has taken the ACT so far? Anybody?
I did the practice ACT.
Okay.
That's it.
Well, as I said before, we used to have to do the SAT one week and then the ACT the next week, but now SAT has done away with their writing. And so we don't have to do that anymore. So the next thing we get to do after this is really fun. Okay. So you just got to survive one more not fun thing, and then we get to do something enjoyable. All right. Now, I want to tell you this. I just suddenly remembered this the other day. And so why should you learn to quickly write? You will be actually having to write a 5-paragraph essay for your final exam. And I don't want anybody freaking out over it because you're all going to be able to do it. Okay. Is anybody worried about the final exam? Nobody? Okay. You're all going to be able to do the final exam just fine, even though it's 5 paragraphs. Okay. But the ACT, why should you learn to quickly write under pressure? So I have 2 students that I know about in my writing career. So I'm guessing there are probably more of these students that I haven't heard about who were actually accused of cheating by their college English professors. They did not cheat. They were both really good students and really good writers. So I can promise you they didn't cheat. So the first one I heard about maybe 4 years ago, I hadn't seen her in a long time, and she told me this experience she had. She was dual enrolled in high school in college English here in Augusta. We have a pretty tough English department here in Augusta. And so her professor accused her of cheating, meaning I suppose that she was hiring somebody to write her papers for her, because the professor said, nobody your age can write like that. Well, I beg to differ. I know all kinds of kids her age that write like that, okay? Like all of you guys. All of my level 2 students are very capable. And so she said, I said, what did you do? She said, well, she just kept kind of harassing me the entire semester. And I said, well, did you do anything? I mean, volunteer to write a paper in front of her or something? She said, well, no, I never did. And I said, well, what happened? She said, well, by the end of the semester, she sort of apologized to me for accusing me of cheating. And I said, what made the difference? She said, I don't know, maybe just because the things I wrote in class on test or whatever. So, and then a couple of years ago, I ran into a mother of one of my former students, also a girl, and she told me the same story. But her professor made her actually sit in her office and write an essay in front of her. Now, to me, that's more pressure than writing an ACT essay, because you know what? Everybody knows the whole ACT essay thing is kind of ridiculous. And so people's college careers aren't going to be made or broken with the ACT essay. That doesn't mean you shouldn't try and get the very best grade you can, okay? But anyway, that professor actually made her sit in her office where she could watch her and handwrite an essay so she could find out how she was doing her work. And then the professor agreed that she wasn't cheating. So here's what I want you to do. First of all, here's a strategy for you, because any of you could be in that same position. So the strategy is not to not write well, okay? That's not one of the options, all right? I want you to all keep doing your IEW stuff. Even when you're not marking style and all of that, you should have a checklist going in your mind when you write, okay? Once you get free of me, you won't be having to mark all of the style things, and okay? But you should still keep doing it, okay? Because I have lots of students that go to college and get really good grades in writing, and they never get accused of cheating. The professor's so happy. But I guess this professor had never seen a college student that could write, which is Very sad. Okay, so here's what you need to do. Keep doing your IEW stuff. Make your writing as good as you can. Save all of your papers, the original file and the corrected one that I give back to you, along with your keyword outlines and your rough drafts. I've told you all before that your keyword outlines and your rough drafts are like showing your work in math. It shows in math. You know, you ever had a teacher say, show your work. I don't care if you can do it in your head. You still have to show your work. Who's ever been told that in math? Okay, most everybody. Okay. Keyword outlines and rough drafts are showing your work. I don't know if this is Jack's number or not, but I'm going to answer it. Hello? No. We've been trying to reach you concerning your car's extended warranty. Okay, I fell for it. I thought it might be Jack calling, even though it wasn't from the right area code, but all right. So save all your papers, including the corrected version, the rough drafts, and the keyword outlines. That's how you show you actually did the work, okay? Also, feel free to contact me. First of all, I would like to know if one of you got accused of cheating, okay? Feel free to contact me, and feel free to let the professor contact me. Also, be ready to sit down, to offer to sit down in front of the professor and handwrite an essay for the professor. And it won't be as vague as what we're about to do today, because it will be about something that you've already been studying in the class, okay? That's a tremendous amount of pressure on you, but you just can't let this kind of thing go unanswered. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. All of you are good writers. I will not have my students being accused of cheating, okay? So that is even more of a reason than the actual SAT essay to learn to write on demand, okay? So I just want to make it personal for you and give you a reason for it, besides thinking, oh, well, they don't really look at those essays anyway, okay? Now, if you go into a school and you're already known as a writer, nobody's going to question you. I have had some students go to a particular school for writing, and they were already known for their writing before they got there. Nobody's going to question those students, okay? But you're just in some random English class and you've got a professor that is very discouraged, and then all of a sudden they start seeing this writing that they can actually read and that actually has something important to say with good style. Yeah, okay? So that's to make this more important to you. So let's talk about writing the ACT essay. Look with me at page 73. All right. So used to only people in our part of the country used to always do the SAT instead of the ACT, but now I think most people do both. Let's see, Luke, Joy, you said you've done the ACT, the practice one.
The practice, and it said it was optional, so I didn't do it. I don't think I did it.
Okay.
Most places have it optional now.
Okay, here's one really important thing. It is optional, but you need to make sure that the school that you're going to does not require it. Yeah. Okay. Check out all the possible options for all the possible universities that you're thinking about attending before you skip it. Because what you don't want to do is not do it and then find out, oh, this school requires it. There's actually a list online, I think, of the schools that do this. I've looked these up in the past, but check it out and make sure that your school isn't going to require it. But even if it does not require it, we're still all going to learn to do it because of the reasons I just listed, right? Besides that, you will have to at some point do essays in class. And of course, the difference between that is usually you're going to know about the subject matter that you're going to have to write a test on, right? So it's not exactly like this, but this is still good practice. So I don't feel like I'm wasting my time like I used to. I wish that the SAT one had been kept and not the ACT one, because it was a better exercise. But that's okay. We can still practice writing on demand. Okay. So if you look at page 73, the ACT essay is an exercise in both persuasion and analysis. Now, analysis means to break something down into its parts. Okay. Students are given 3 perspectives on an issue and asked to evaluate and analyze the 3 perspectives, state and develop their own perspective, and explain the relationship between their perspective and the given perspective. All in 40 minutes. So, now the SAT essay used to be 25 minutes, which was absolutely ridiculous, and everybody knew it was ridiculous. So when they made the new SAT, they changed it to 50 minutes, but the ACT is only 40 minutes, which is still better than the old SAT one, which was terrible. It was a complete joke. Okay. You can choose to agree with one of the provided viewpoints, or you can come up with your own. So here's a sample prompt for the ACT essay. I'm assuming this is one they actually used in the past, okay? And I'm going to actually use this as an example, but let's look at this before we talk about the strategy for doing it, okay? Education in the workplace. Many colleges and universities have cut their humanities department. That's where you take English. And high schools have started to shift their attention much more definitively towards STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and away from ELA, English Language Arts. Representatives from both school boards and government organizations suggest that the move towards STEM is necessary in helping students participate in a meaningful way in the American workplace. Given the urgency of this debate for the future of education and society as a whole, it is worth examining the potential consequences of this shift and how students are educated in the United States. Okay. So they give you a little paragraph and they tell you what the whole point of the perspectives are about. Okay. Then they give you 3 possible perspectives to choose from. Perspective 1 for this one is ELA programs should be emphasized over STEM programs. Education is not merely a means to employment. ELA education helps students live more meaningful lives, ELA meaning English Language Arts. In addition, an exclusively STEM-based program cannot help but limit students' creativity and lead them to overemphasize the importance of money over other tangible gains. Okay, so that's one perspective. Here's a second perspective. ELA programs should be eradicated entirely, except to establish the basic literacy necessary to engage in the hard sciences, mathematics, and business. Reading and writing are activities that are best saved for the leisure of students who enjoy them. What do you think I think about that perspective? Okay, perspective 3. ELA and STEM programs should always be in equal balance with one another. Both are necessary to providing a student with a well-rounded education. Moreover, equal emphasis will allow the fullest possible exposure to many subjects before students choose their majors and careers. Then you will be given your essay task, and it's always stated in the same way, okay? Write a unified, coherent essay in which you evaluate multiple perspectives on the issue of how schools should balance STEM and ELA subjects. In your essay, be sure to analyze and evaluate the perspectives given, state and develop your own perspective on the issue, explain the relationship between your perspective and those given, all in 40 minutes. It's not going to say that, but that's still part of the rules, okay? Your perspective may be in full agreement with any of the others, in partial agreement, or wholly different. Whatever the case, support your ideas with logical reasoning and detailed persuasive examples, all in 40 minutes. Okay. Mia, I can't hear you.
I was just saying we're working on the ACT essay this week. Yay.
Huh?
I'm not excited about the ACT essay.
Okay, here's one thing y'all could be excited about. You only have to do 3 of these for homework, and you can only spend 40 minutes on each of them. Yay! That means you're going to have lots of not writing time this week.
So it's either going
We
to
have
be good
practice.
or like really bad.
Huh? I'm sorry. I
It's either
couldn't.
going to be good or really bad.
No, you're going to do it well. I'm going to be very disappointed if you don't. I won't accept anything but the best. Okay? All right.
Do we have practice tests?
Yes.
Practice?
Yes, you have 3 practice ones. And Jonathan, they're the same ones you did last year, but that's okay because you probably don't remember them. I don't even remember them, and I've been doing the same ones for the last several years, okay? So let's look at the strategy. Look on the next page, and then we're going to go back, and I'm going to do a little practice with the one that we just looked at, okay? Okay. On page 74, your job is to write an essay in which you take some sort of position on the prompt, all while assessing 3 perspectives provided in the boxes. So the very first thing you do, of course, would be to read the prompt and analyze the perspectives. Now, you've got 40 minutes to do the whole assignment. So don't spend more than 3 or 4 minutes at the most reading and assessing the perspectives, okay? So you've got to really get your mind in gear before you start with this. It is pouring down rain here. Wow.
Clouds here.
Okay. What in the prompt requires you to weigh in, to have an opinion? Okay, you've been having opinions all year about things, okay? Why is this issue still the subject of debate and not a done deal? Okay, so that's what you're asking yourself, okay? So A, choose your perspectives. Typically, the 3 perspectives will be split 1 for, 1 against, and 1 in the middle. You probably noticed that. One of those that we just read was do away with ELA, do away with STEM, balance the 2 of them. Okay, those were the 3 perspectives, okay? Your goal in step 2 is to figure out where each perspective stands and then identify at least one shortcoming of each perspective. For example, the example above, ask yourself, what does each perspective consider? What does each perspective overlook? Okay. So let's think about this example on the page before. Let's look at the first perspective. Now, y'all are going to have to do this much faster than we're doing it here. Okay. Obviously, we're taking a lot of time doing this that you won't be able to do. So this is why we need to practice it first. Okay. So let's look at the first perspective back on page 73. ELA programs should be emphasized over STEM programs. Education is not merely a means to employment. ELA education helps students live more meaningful lives. In addition, an exclusively STEM-based program cannot help but limit students' creativity and lead them to overemphasize the importance of money and other tangible gains. Okay, so who in here prefers English and the humanities to the sciences and math? Who prefers science and math to English and history and all that other stuff? Okay, all right. The others of you don't prefer anything, I'm guessing?
Not really.
So you're going to have to find a way to care about this. Okay, so what are they overlooking? What are the people that think, oh, yes, the most important thing is the humanities, especially language arts? What are they overlooking in this perspective? What you STEM people, what do you think? What's this perspective overlook? Ian, you raised your hand preferring STEM. What do you think?
I just don't really, I don't really have an opinion on it. It's just like math comes easier to me than writing.
Oh, okay, Julia, what do you think?
We're missing the importance of both. Because they're both important.
You really can't get along in our society without at least a basic understanding of math, right? And a basic understanding of technology. right?
Mhm.
And of course, a lot of jobs involve both. One of my sons is a welder, and he's really, really good at it, and he loves it. He loves the challenge of it. But his ultimate goal is to be an orbital welder, where you sit behind a computer in a nice, clean room, and you you weld with a mouse or something. Okay. So thankfully, he has a really good grasp of gaming. So he'll probably be really good at that. So you really can't get along in our society without at least some basic math and some basic tech skills, right? Technology, science, whatever. Okay. The second perspective is ELA programs should be eradicated entirely. Ooh. Except to establish the basic literacy necessary to engage in the hard sciences, mathematics, and business. Reading and writing are activities that are best saved for the leisure of students who enjoy them. Who in here has gotten a lot of writing instruction in a math or science class? Anybody? They gave you writing instruction in your math and science? Really?
Yeah.
Joy, what class is
Specifically,
that?
well, chemistry right now. So we have to we've already done a couple summaries about scientists, I think one or two. And then we have done a bunch of lab reports. And then we have to answer questions correctly. And the sentences have to be complete. We do a lot. A lot of
Good. That's great.
yeah.
Okay. Who else said they've gotten a lot of writing instruction in a science class? Oh, okay. Are they instructing you how to write correctly, Joy, in that class?
I mean, it's my
Are they
mom,
just requiring that you write correctly?
I mean, the lab reports have to be very specific with vocabulary words, like science vocabulary words, but it's not exactly like MLA,
They're not teaching you how to do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
my son took a chemistry class, and that teacher was like college level when it came to writing lab reports.
Yeah.
You know, she was a maniac. It was good for him because writing about science is very different than writing about
something
a story, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And Mia, you've gotten some good writing practice in a science class too.
In my chemistry class, we have to write journals, and she's told us that they have to be MLA formatted, and so I was surprised about that. And I was like, well, it's a good thing that Miss Kimbrell already taught me how to do this, because I'd be really lost.
Well, I'm so excited. Really, writing should be across the curriculum, but hardly anywhere is that done. You know, so that's exciting. Okay, so the main thing is though that if you're not given writing instruction and you don't learn how to read and analyze things, and you can't be expected to do it well when you're just thrust into a situation where they say they want you to do this, right? Because basically science classes are not going to take the time to teach you all of the nuts and bolts about English language arts and all that. Okay. So that's what they overlook. ELA and STEM programs should also always be in equal balance. Both are necessary, providing a student with a well-rounded education. Moreover, equal emphasis will allow the fullest possible exposure to many subjects before students choose their majors and careers. That seems really balanced. What do y'all think?
Yes.
So they're saying both are important. What are they overlooking? Does anybody see something they're overlooking in this one? I just suddenly thought about this recently. And the one thing they're overlooking in here is that's not all there should be when you're preparing for a career to choose majors and careers. Okay. I don't know if y'all know who Mike Rowe is, but he used to do a program called Dirty Jobs, and he now has a foundation called Mike Rowe Works, where he'll actually, they actually give scholarships for people who want to go into one of the trades for training because there are hundreds of thousands of open jobs in the trades, like welding, electrician, plumbing. What am I leaving out? Air conditioning and heating, maintenance, you know, that are unfilled because we had something in high school when I was in high school that was called shop. Some high schools are going back to this, Mike Rose trying to get them to go back to it so that students are actually exposed to the idea that you can have a very good job in the trades. Often education is free. My son did a welding course that was put on by the local union shop, and he didn't have to pay a penny for it. And he turned out like 3 months later, and 4 months maybe, and started immediately making full-scale wage as a welder, even though he was still considered an apprentice because he was able to pass the test. So he went to college for a little bit and he enjoyed the classes. He just didn't like sitting alone by himself in a room studying. So a lot of people might choose one of the trades if they were given some exposure to them. And Mike Rowe thinks that our country has really shortchanged itself by not making people aware of the possibility of careers in the trade. So I think that's what is left out of this perspective. And if I were writing this, I would actually write a paragraph. I think I would put perspective 1 and perspective 2 in a paragraph together and say neither one of these are realistic. And then I'd say that perspective 3 is better because it actually acknowledges the necessity of both ELA and STEM. And then my great wrap-up paragraph would be that they've overlooked a third alternative that also needs to be included with STEM and ELA, and that is trade opportunities. Okay? All right, so you have to read through these quickly. You have to quickly think about them. And these are all going to be like general subjects, and they're going to give you enough information that you actually can think about them. Unless you have a strong feeling about one of them, about a perspective that is not listed, like I do about this. And the funny thing is I've been looking at the same prompt for like the last 3 years or maybe 4 years. And I never thought about that till today. And I've always encouraged students, just pick one of the ones that you can go with. Don't waste time trying to think up something unique, okay? Because after 4 years, I finally thought of that today. I wouldn't have made it through the essay if I'd been sitting there trying to think of something unique, right? Okay, so pick one. Now, look back on page 74. We've just talked about what does each perspective consider, what does each perspective overlook, and look at that paragraph underneath it. Now it's time to decide which perspective you agree with. Because addressing each of the 3 perspectives is an integral part of the essay task, you need to make sure you understand what each prompt is saying. My daughter was in an English class, a really, really good English class when she was back in her college days. And she had an in-class essay to write. And she had nearly finished the essay. They used computers to do that in that class. And she looked back at the question again, and she realized she had written entirely the wrong essay. She about had a nervous breakdown, and she probably would have been screaming and crying if she had been doing it at home, but of course she wasn't going to do that in front of people. So she quickly started over and started right. So you've got to read it carefully and find out what it is they're asking, okay? That's the most important thing to do. The good news is that each perspective includes both a general assertion as well as an opinion that places the topic in a broader context, saving you some work from coming up with your own independent perspective. You don't have to do what I just told you as far as coming up with another perspective. While it is possible to come up with a 4th point of view on the topic, the added time you'll have to spend comparing your point of view to 3 other perspectives will most likely result in weaker arguments for all three. Instead, choose the perspective you think you can support the best. Now, if I were to do what I just told you, saying there needs to be a fourth perspective, I would deal with 1 and 2 both in the same paragraph. And I would deal with them like this. Neither perspective 1 or perspective 2, neither total STEM or total ELA are good choices because they are unrealistic in acknowledging the necessity of having a good grasp of both. I wouldn't write like a separate paragraph for each of those, okay? So if some new perspective should pop into your head, feel free to do that. But you got to deal with, you've got to cut it down somehow, okay? Most likely, you'll just pick one of the three, okay? B, quickly brainstorm evidence and explanations to support each perspective. Because the ACT essay involves discussing all of the perspectives given, not just the one you agree with, you'll have to use at least 3 pieces of evidence in your essay, 1 for each perspective. At this point, if you find that you're able to find more convincing evidence to support a different perspective than the one you've chosen, you can always switch because you're still planning. Also, when you're in your planning, which we call a keyword outline, you don't have to write in complete sentences, okay? Sources for evidence. Remember the categories in your brainstorming chart. Past, present, future, world, national, state, local, family, personal, pros, cons, harms and benefits, process, steps and stages, definitions, examples. Okay. Keep those categories in your head. So here's your sources for evidence. Opening paragraph of the prompt. If you haven't already, read through the paragraph at the beginning of the essay prompt. You should have done that already. You can appropriate some or all of the examples in it to use in your own essay. Personal experience. You can tell any story, real or not, about you or someone else, or make up that supports one of your points. Okay? You can't talk about yourself. You have to keep formal. Statistics. Again, these can be real or made up. You could invent a research study or come up with any other kind of statistics to support one of the perspectives. So I've got something in mind that I read the other day. I can't remember exactly what the statistics were, but they were the percentage was pretty high, and I'd probably pick 80%. Okay. Specifics from sources. Use knowledge of events from history or current events to support your points. If you're not certain of the details, it's all right. The essay graders won't deduct points for factually inaccurate information. If you say if you say this study showed that 80% of employers are searching for students who have well-developed soft skills, that means things that aren't specific to the job. They're not going to go on the internet and say, really? Is that really 80%? And look it up on Google. All right. So if you need a statistic, you can just pick one. All right. What they want to know is, do you know how to do this? Okay. Do you know how to make an argument? That's what they're looking for. Okay. On the other hand, you don't want to sit there and come up with some cockamamie story or obviously false information like Ben Franklin wrote the Declaration of Independence. Okay. Don't say something that's wrong and that most everybody would know is wrong. All right. Or that we get most of our oil from China. Huh?
Canada.
Did you say Canada?
I said China.
China, yes. Or, everybody knows we don't get our oil from China. Okay. So don't say something like that that's obviously false. Okay. But if you have a vague recollection that we get some oil from Russia and you don't know exactly what the percentage of our oil buys are from Russia, you can say 10% or 20%. Okay. the number isn't the important thing. The example and the evidence is the important thing. Does that make sense? Okay. Current events are really good to use in this. All right. So like right now, I don't know if y'all are following all this stuff that's going on in the Ukraine, but if you happen to know about things that are going on in the world, those can make great examples. Okay. C, brainstorm your counter arguments or analysis of the other perspectives. There's no one right way to respond to the other two prompts. Some of it depends on what point of view you take. Okay, the next thing you're going to do is make an outline. You're going to make a keyword outline. This is not going to be a super duper involved keyword outline, right? So let me show you what we're going to do here. All right. Okay. So here's how you go about making a keyword outline. These are what we call basic scratch outlines. They are not hard. They are not really involved outlines like I've taught you to make, okay? Yay, I should hear cheers from that. This is what we call a basic scratch outline, and it's got to be short and quick, but you don't want to write without one, okay? So, outline the essay. Look at the example, look at the chart here. So, this is how I want you to go about making. I wonder if I actually I might have a document on ThinkWave about this, but I'm not sure. Okay. I'll have to look afterwards, but I hope I can have a document by the time I finish with this. So let me fix my pens here. Okay, so let's say I'm going to do the one we just read about, which is education in the workplace, okay? So using that graph on page 75, the first thing I want on my keyword outline is number one, the intro, okay? Start with an attention grabber. So what am I going to do here? I'm not going to try to come up with an attention grabber. I'm just going to write it on my outline. You know why? Why should I write it on my outline? What do you think? They're not going to be grading your outline. So why do you need to write this stuff down? Any ideas?
For like to remind yourself.
Exactly. It's incredible how pressure will squash things out of your brain that you already know. Okay? So give yourself a boost and write down some things so that you don't have to, so, you know, you might be writing and go, oh man, I had an idea there. I can't remember what it was. All right. And then you're going to clearly state your perspective. So I'm just going to write state perspective. Okay. Now this is the same thing that happened yesterday. My pen has gone haywire. Hold on, let me try it again. Okay, state perspective. Why is it doing that? All right, this is not going to work if I have to keep adjusting my pen here. Any of you tech people know why this is happening?
Outdated drivers. Have you updated the software?
Probably not. Maybe I need to do that. Okay. Thank you, Jonathan. Number two, we're going to start with a transition or topic sentence. Okay. So mine is going to be perspectives 1 and 2. That's all I need for my topic. Okay. I'll have the paper right before me. I'm not going to have to go back and look. All right. Both, I'm going to remind myself, both unrealistic, both ELA and STEM needed. Employers want, and this is an article I'm going to try to put up on my website, communication skills, and let's see, basic math and tech are necessary. Okay, so that's all I'm going to do that. I read an article the other day about employers that wanted soft skills. That was the most important thing. And I think it was something like 80% of employers said these were the most important. And the very top one, guess what it was?
What?
Writing.
Yes. Forms of communication, being able to write clearly and speak clearly in order to get your ideas across. Okay, so y'all never have to worry about that. Okay.
Except speaking.
Huh?
Except speaking.
I think you speak fine. Okay. Number 3, I'm going to do perspective 3. And an example, let's see. Need, balance. Let's see. Can I think of an example of that? Need, balance, even scientists must write. Publishing. Publishing is so important in the science world. If you don't get published, you're dead in the water. You know, if you're a scientist doing research and for some organization and you can't write, then you're in trouble. Okay. But then I would do on mine, I would do trades. And let's see, ELA and STEM ed, not sufficient. And I don't care about you keeping to your 4-word limit, but obviously you don't want to spend a lot of time writing out full sentences, right?
Mhm.
This is not the time for that. Because if you do, you're not going to get done, okay? ELA and STEM, not sufficient. And then I'm going to just list micro works down here. So I will remember that's my great example of the trades being important in consideration. Oh, let me go back here. ELA and STEM not sufficient in education. Okay. All right. And then I'm just going to wrap it up with my conclusion. And all I'm going to do is write conclusion, well-rounded workforce needs STEM, ELA, and trades. Okay. That's as complicated as you need to make your outline. Now, every year I say this, and inevitably I will get back a standard keyword outline. And I'm so proud of y'all that you know how to do that. Okay. But you got to know what you need to do for each task that you're given, right? Mm-hmm. So this is the time. You will forget things if you don't write them down. You want to make sure you have an outline that keeps you on track, but you don't want to make it super duper over involved. Okay? Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay. So let's see. Now let's look. Let me do stop share. I don't know. For some reason, my pen started back working again. Also, I'm wondering if I need to replace I've got some replacement nibs for this pen here. I might need to replace that. Okay. Let's look at the bottom of page 75. Once you have written your keyword outline, a very quick basic scratch outline, it's time to write. Okay? So, number one, introduction and paragraph and thesis. Write your introduction. If you can think of an interesting first sentence that brings it into a larger discussion, start with that. I've always had y'all write your introduction after your body paragraphs. You don't have to do it that way, but if you want to do it that way, leave a few lines. Okay? Don't leave a lot of lines because you won't get extra paper for this. They'll give you a booklet to write in, and that's all the paper you're going to get. Okay? Make sure you clearly, I don't think you need as many as 10 or 15. I don't know why I put that. Make sure you clearly state your thesis. So, what's my thesis? Oh, that's something I should have written on my my document. I think my thesis would be what I just said at the end of the thing, that a well-rounded workforce requires both ELA and STEM, but that is not sufficient. The trades need to be included too, or something like that. Let me see if that's. So for a 3+ essay, oh yeah, the grading is weird on this. We're going to look at the grading scale here in just a minute. That's the highest you can get is a 6. It'd be great to get at least a 3. For a 3+ essay, this should include your perspective on the issue and how it relates to the other perspectives presented in the prompt. So I would want to make sure I said, although ELA and STEM are both important, they are not sufficient because they do not consider the importance of trades in the education process. Okay. Okay, turn the page. Body paragraphs. When you start your first body paragraph, try to think of a first sentence that refers back to the first paragraph. Okay. Ideally, you'll start every paragraph this way to create a unified argument. That's okay. We don't do transitions in this class. That's something I say for level 3. If you can reflect back to the previous clincher, that's great. But this is not the time to learn this new skill, okay? Then address the argument opposing yours. Explain the evidence that supports this perspective in 3 to 5 sentences. Don't make these super duper long paragraphs. If you do, you're not going to finish, okay? 5 sentences per paragraph would be great, all right? Y'all are used to writing way more than that, but aim for 5. Then make sure to explain your counter argument to the perspective, tying it back to your thesis. Body paragraph 2, introduce your thoughts on the second perspective. Address the argument of the second perspective. Blah, blah, blah. Body paragraph 3, introduce your chosen perspective, linking it back to the counter arguments. So where do we need to put our chosen argument? Which paragraph should it be?
4.
It will be number 4 when you consider that you've written an introduction, right? So it's the third body paragraph. Good.
Oh, 3.
Always save your strongest for last. And obviously, if you picked a particular perspective, you think that is the strongest, right? Okay. So you can actually just hit your audience over the head with it. Don't try to be subtle. You can make your topic sentence this. The strongest perspective is that ELA and STEM are both important, yet not sufficient. Oh, what is that term? Necessary, but not sufficient. I like that. I would probably do that. The trades need to be considered, okay? conclusion, check your time. Try to have 5 to 6 minutes left at this point, but if you don't, if you only have 1 minute, make a 1-sentence conclusion, but don't skip it. Okay? Wrap it up. Just wrap it up by restating your thesis if that's all you have time for. Okay? All right, revising time. I hope you'll have time to revise, but you may not. All right? In these last 2 to 4 minutes, you want to read over your essay and try to pick up a point or two by revising. You can, of course, correct mistakes because when you actually do write the ACT essay, you'll be writing it in pencil. But I can't let you write this in pencil because I had students to do that last year, and because I told them to, and it didn't scan to where I could read it. So for your homework, I want you to write it in pen. Okay? Does everybody hear me? I can't read it if you write it in pencil. And you won't want to skip lines when you take the ACT because you might not have enough paper. But since you're writing it in pen, because I'm telling you to do that, I want you to skip lines on your notebook paper because this has to be by hand. Okay, this is not on the computer because that's the way they do it when you take the ACT essay. It's all handwritten. You must skip a line so that you'll have some way that you can correct things if you want to. Okay? So in the real ACT, do not skip lines. In the real ACT, do not use a pen because that counts as an automatic 0 if you do. Right? But for my homework, since you all are the online people and you're going to have to scan your homework, unlike the local people, please write it in pen so I can read it. Okay? I had a terrible time last year trying to read these things because students followed my directions and did what I told them to do, which was write it in pencil. Okay? Okay, so remember the following. First of all, you must keep a formal tone. You know, in your essay that you just finished, I told you to talk about yourself, right? Okay, but we're back to the bad old thing of not talking about ourselves, right? So you can't use I, me, my. I think the best perspective is that the trades should also be considered for education. You can't talk about yourself. What do you do instead? Just state it as a fact, right? Okay, so no personal pronouns about yourself, okay? Introduction and conclusion should state and restate your main point. Even if that's all you have time to do in the conclusion, at least do that. If the person doing the test says, you have 1 minute left, normally they'll call out times, which is very unnerving. Y'all have probably all taken the yearly testing things, right? And like toward the end, they start going, you have 10 minutes left. You have 5 minutes left. You have 1 minute left. And I'm just going, I'd rather not know. Okay. That's a good thing to practice too. Get your editor to do that to you while you're doing this. Okay. Because you have to get used to that. That totally unnerves me when people do that. They did that when I was taking my nursing exam. And it took all of my self-control not to just have a nervous breakdown. You have to practice these things, okay? Introduction and conclusion should state and restate your main point. Follow your outline. That's why you made it. Now, does it mean you can't add something brilliant that you thought about since you made your outline? No. If you have a brain flash, all of a sudden you go, oh, I thought of an even better example. Feel free to do that, okay? You know how things happen when you're writing. It's when you're writing that you get ideas a lot of the time, right? So you can do that, but don't stray far. If you have a great idea in the middle of writing that's going to require you to go back and like completely rewrite the paragraph before, don't fall for that great idea. Just forge ahead, Okay. Don't forget your body paragraph clinchers. They're very important. This helps tie your essay together. Okay. Don't forget your style. They're going to be looking for precise language and varied sentences. Now, I didn't grade you on having every single thing in every single paragraph for this last essay. Who enjoyed that? Who enjoyed not having to? Okay. All right. You don't have to do every single thing either, but I would say at least try not to have more than 3 subject openers in a row, because that's when your writing starts sounding really boring. Okay. And try to get at least every dress up and every sentence type in somewhere in your paper. Okay. And don't forget the most fabulous of all of them, which is, of course, the number 4. Right? It's so sophisticated. And if you can do one correctly, then the world is your oyster. All right.
We don't have to mark all of them.
No, do not mark any stuff. No.
I knew. I thought I heard you say that, but I was making sure.
Yeah. Good. Thank you, Ian, for helping me clarify that. Who writes with a checklist kind of going in their head already? Who's already doing that? Okay. Just have that checklist going and know when you've done something. If you find number 4 is hard and you do a number 4, then cross it off. You don't have to worry about that. Okay.
To clarify for myself sometimes, because sometimes you'll say something and I'll know that that's what you said, but then my brain is like, did you really say that?
Yes. Always ask for clarification. That's a great life skill. All right. Don't ever, listen, pay attention, but clarify things. Don't just assume things. Okay. So do use good style. All of you have good style at this point. So I'm going to be really disappointed if all I see is a whole essay full of nothing but number 1 openers, even though other people wouldn't ding you on that. They'll know whether your writing is good or not, and they won't think your writing is very enjoyable if you don't vary your style. Okay. Don't skip the conclusion, even if it's 1 sentence. Aim for 600 to 750 words total. Some of you all regularly write paragraphs that are 300 words or 200 words. 200 times 5 is 1,000 words. You're not going to have time to write that much. Okay. So aim for about 150 to 200 words per paragraph. And all of them can't be if you're going to make 750 words. Less is too short and more will make it hard to finish. Now, see this in bold there at the bottom. Use a pen like we just talked about. Although the actual ACT requires a pencil, pencil does not scan well enough for me to be able to read it. For the real ACT, essays written in pen or off topic receive a grade of 0. So I guess maybe back at the beginning of all this stuff, they'd have students come in and they'd just write an essay that they had already thought through and planned out in their head, even though they had no idea what the actual prompt was going to be, hoping that it would be good enough that they would go, oh, this student can write. So if you don't write on the topic that they give you, you get a 0. So just plan on going in there and finding out what they want you to talk about and talking about it. Okay? That doesn't mean you can't think through ideas of things that you could use as an example. If you're into current events, who is actually into current events in this group? Is there anybody that follows the news in this group? Sort of? Okay. Sort of look at the news the night before and see what's happening. Like right now, Ukraine is happening. And so I don't know what you could use Ukraine for. It wouldn't work for this topic about education, right? Because it doesn't have anything to do with that. But it might, because you don't know what you're going to get as a topic. All right. Now let's look at this sample here. And we've just got a few minutes left, and that's okay. I want you to see some sample essays that were written on an actual ACT prompt, okay? So here we go on the next page. No, at the bottom of this page, intelligent machines. This is an actual ACT prompt that I got off of the internet, okay? ACT has a website. They put up practice prompts all the time if you want to practice more once you're done with me. And here's one that they actually had on their website on page 76. Intelligent machines. Many of the goods and services we depend on daily are now supplied by intelligent automated machines rather than human beings. Robots build cars and other goods on assembly lines where once there were human workers. Many of our phone conversations are now conducted not with people, but with sophisticated technologies. We can now buy goods at a variety of stores without the help of a human cashier. Automation is generally seen as a sign of progress. But what is lost when we replace humans with machines? Given the accelerating variety and prevalence of intelligent machines, it is worth examining the implications and meaning of their presence in our lives. Okay, this would be kind of fun to write about. Read and carefully consider these perspectives. Each suggests a particular way of thinking about the increasing presence of intelligent machines. Okay, so perspective one, what we lose with replacement of people by machines is some part of our own humanity. Even our mundane daily encounters no longer require from us basic courtesy, respect, and tolerance for other people. Okay, that's one perspective. That's sort of against intelligent machines, right? Perspective two, machines are good at low skill, repetitive jobs and at high speed, extremely precise jobs. In both cases, they work better than humans. This efficiency leads to a more prosperous and progressive world for everyone. Okay. That's the pro-intelligent machine argument. Perspective three, intelligent machines challenge our longstanding ideas about what humans are or can be. This is good because it pushes both. I don't know, I must have cut something off there. Okay, well, I'm sorry, I don't have the rest of that there. I'm guessing that this is saying to figure out what is best done by humans and what's best done by intelligent machines, okay? So already ideas are popping into my head. I read an article about a hamburger machine somewhere in California. A guy invented this machine that would produce a hamburger for you from start to finish, and you just picked out the things that you wanted on it. And it made it right there fresh. And it cooked the hamburger to the right temperature that you wanted it, put it on the bun, added all the toppings, wrapped it up and slid it out of the thing, and nobody ever touched the thing, right? I haven't read anything else about it. That was several years ago, so I don't think that's like broken into the big time yet, but apparently such a machine does exist. So I would probably use that somewhere as an example, okay? Essay task, write a unified, coherent strategy about the increasing presence of intelligent machines. In your essay, be sure to clearly state your own perspective on the issue and analyze the relationship between your perspective and at least one other perspective. Develop and support your ideas with reasoning and examples. Organize your ideas clearly and logically. Communicate your ideas effectively in standard written English. Okay, let's look at some examples of essays that were written and flip over to the next page. This first essay got the top score. We'll look at the first one and the last one. Y'all can read the others later. Advances in technology have become so widely accepted in today's culture that very few people are willing to pause to consider the consequences. People get so excited about what new technologies can offer that they often forget to question whether there might be any negative effects. Without caution and deliberation, replacing the natural with the mechanical would undoubtedly be disastrous. Okay, so they're obviously against replacing humans with machines. Let's see what they say. The economic implications of the potential mechanical takeover alone should be enough to dissuade anyone from moving too fast. In the event the robots are more widely used in the workplace, humans will surely be replaced. At first, businesses would benefit from the efficiency of robots, but eventually a depressed job market would lead to a population that struggles just to feed themselves and their families, let alone purchase the products these robots make. In the long run, society will suffer if it does not take care to prevent the economic consequences of giving everything over to machines. Our careless use of automation has already taken a toll on our culture. People have been interacting with automation in nearly every aspect of their lives, whether it be shopping, banking, or the use of the telephone. The effect of this is obvious. Basic respect for our fellow man is all but absent today because of increased interaction with automation. Why treat a machine with kindness? It suffers no emotional or psychological damage. In a culture saturated with automation, we get used to treating machines rudely. I wouldn't use we, even though they gave this person a 6. And we begin to treat each other rudely. This, of course, leads to all sorts of issues like intolerance and incivility, and in the long run results in complete degradation of culture. Even in the face of these obstacles, some people argue that the increasing intelligence of today's machines is a good thing. After all, machine power can decrease the human workload. Computer processors double in power and ability every year. Computers are projected to reach human intelligence by blah, 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 blah. Okay. I think I would have put that paragraph first as the body paragraph if they're really against human machines. I mean, machines replacing humans. That should have gone first. They should have saved their strongest argument for last. Y'all see that? But still, they write very clearly, and I can understand a professor who isn't used to people writing clearly giving them a 6. All right? Stick with the plan I gave you, though. Decreasing speed with which we incorporate mechanical influence is important because the potential dangers that lurk in blind acceptance, not only blah, 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 blah. Okay. Now let's look at what got a number, what got a 1.
Versus very obvious.
Y'all can read the others in between, okay? Look on page 85. All right, nobody in this class writes this way. Okay? Well, machines are good, but they take people's jobs. They don't know how to use it. They get fired and they'll find someone else, and it's more easier with machines, but sometimes they don't need people because of this. Machines do their own job, and there may be people that lack on their job, but the intelligent machines sometimes may not work, or they'll break easy, and it's a waste of money on these machines, and there's really expensive to buy, but they help a lot. At the same time, it help a lot, but at the same time, this intelligent machines work, and some don't work, but store buy them and end up broken or not working, but many stores get them and end up wasting money on this intelligent machines. But how does it help us in the community? Because some people get fired because they do not need him because of this machines. Many people are losing jobs because of this machines.
What?
Like a
Is that
4th grader just trying to explain that to me.
These are actual examples.
What
Okay.
was their score?
That was a 1, and I'm not really sure why they got a 1. There's no punctuation except at the very end.
Right.
It's one long. Huh?
It's a 1 because there's one period, just one in the whole paragraph.
Okay, that's really sad, and I'm so sorry for that student, and I'm glad I don't know who that is. Okay, but if you look back, you know, if you can get a 3, that's really good. I have had students that are fabulous writers go in and take this, and it's hard to get much more than a 3, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't try. Okay, don't go, this is a dumb writing assignment, I'm not going to worry about it. Okay, just work on it because you need to be able to write on demand. Okay, all right. Let's look at the way that it's going to be graded, because I am going to grade you, but I'm not going to allow your whole grade for the entire school year to be based on this. All right. I had some students really nervous and upset because they thought maybe they would ruin their grade because they were very careful to do their work right. But this is hard, and it's not, I'm going to give you a grade, but it's not going to be the make or break kind of thing that's going to ruin your grade, unless I just see that you didn't try. And y'all know, I know you're writing by now, and I can tell if you tried or not. Okay. So do your best. This is on page 268. This is what I'll actually grade you on. Okay. And these are the things that the people that are grading will grade you on page 268. So you get anywhere from a 1 to 6 on each of these things. And then they divide them by 1, 2, 3, 4. They divide them by 4. Your ideas and analysis. They want to see that your argument responds to the perspectives. Make sure that you mention the perspectives that are listed. Okay. Number 2, they want to see how you develop your ideas. How do you support? You've got to have examples that support these things that you say. Okay. So like my example in one of my education ones would be micro works, the importance of trades, okay? Organization, y'all know how to organize. You should all get a 6 on this. Introduction, body paragraphs with topic clinchers. Conclusion, last sentence is the thesis, okay? Y'all know how to do this. I'm not worried. And of course, you're all very good at the very last one, which is language use. Word choice, correctness and variety of sentence structure, style, voice, tone. That means don't be chatty and don't use I. And, you know, grammar. They actually are going to be looking at your punctuation and capitalization and your verb use, okay? So don't be nervous about this. Just use this as a chance to increase your writing power. You're going to have to know how to write fast in some situations. Use this as a chance to practice this. Follow the directions about setting timers and don't go through and read all the stuff before you start your homework, right? Treat it like you will actually experience it, which you don't get to find out what the question is until you actually sit down to write the test, right? I explain all this on page 267. Okay. Do write it on notebook paper, and I don't say on here to skip lines, and you shouldn't do that on the ACT, but do that on this, because otherwise you can't fix anything. There just won't be anywhere to fix it, and it'll be hard for me to read too, okay? If you start scratching out and trying to write over something that you already wrote. Read the directions, follow the directions. Y'all, the great thing again about this homework is there's only 3 of them, and you can only spend 40 minutes doing it, which is great, okay? And I do want you to set a timer and get your mom to go, 15 minutes left, 10 minutes left, 5 minutes left. When your mom says 1 minute left, whatever it is you're doing, you go ahead and write a concluding sentence, okay? All right. I think you'll have a good time with this, especially since you know that you only have to do 3. My advice to you is, guess what? When do you think I would recommend that you go ahead and do this?
Earlier in the week, but not the same day.
Get it done. Get it off your plate. Don't wait till the end and then go, oh, I still haven't done that because I know I only have to do 3 of them. Go ahead and get it over with and have a little break, okay? Okay. Any questions before we go? All right. You can read through all those sample essays and see the kinds of things that people did and get an idea about what you would like to do, okay? All right.
Yes, sir.
Okay, you guys, let me know if you have questions, because if you have questions, other people have questions, okay? All right. Do put your name and the date on there, but you don't have to do the whole MLA thing, because that's not what you do for the ACT essay. Put your name and the date.
Do we need to put a title on?
You know, this has come up before and I've never seen it. I've never seen it addressed. So just put a title, you know, intelligent machines, education, completeness, something like that, you know, depending on what the prompt is. Okay. Make sure I can read it, because if I can't read it, and if the ACT reader can't read it, you will get a 0 if they can't read it. Okay. Mm-hmm. So don't write so fast that nobody's going to be able to read it. Oh yeah. You know how long they spend reading these things per student? 2 minutes. So they're not going to be looking up to see if your facts are correct. They're not going to be going over everything with a fine-tooth comb. They're reading it really fast, and they're just making a snap decision on whether you wrote well or not, whether your structure is good, whether your style is good, whether you supported your arguments with facts or examples, and whether you did what you were told to do, which was examine all the perspectives. They're really, really fast. So that can be a good thing and it can be a bad thing. Right? Okay. All right. Well, if you don't have any other questions, I'll let you go. And get in touch with me if you need help, okay? Have fun with this and enjoy your free time that you're going to have.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, you guys.
Thank you.
Okay.
See you next time. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.